I don't want to be labeled an evangelical. Feel free to let some of the labels go because those labels, they were almost like weights that weigh us down.
What if one label starts to conflict with the other? Boom, you become at war with yourself.
It doesn't matter what we say about Jesus if we're doing those things.
Those are the people that you try to have a human conversation with them. Ooh, dark. They're lonely.
If we could have less labels, but live out the labels that matter, I think we change the world. You talked about labels a few minutes ago. And all these labels we like to put on ourselves, right?
Mhm.
I still think of myself fully as a follower of Jesus and a pastor, but I am uncomfortable with the amount of labels that I've had on my life. I'm at a point where I want less labels than ever. I don't want to be labeled an evangelical. I just want to be labeled a Jesus follower. I want to be labeled Christ-like. I want to be labeled a Christian. I don't want to be labeled non-denom or Baptist or charismatic or Presbyterian or any of those things. I want to be labeled a Christian, someone who looks like Jesus, someone who loves like Jesus. I don't want to be labeled as, even really an evangelical or someone who deconstructed or reconstructed. We have all these labels, yet I'm finding more joy and less labels. I'm finding
Mhm.
more joy in going back to what we talked about, those core values. My core values is I want to love people like Jesus because of how deeply he loved me. So what does that look like? For me, it looks like the core values are the fruit of the spirit. Where I go, I want there to be peace. I want there to be joy. I want there to be love. I want there to be kindness. I want there to be faithfulness and gentleness and all of these things that the world is not necessarily about. But even when we're talking, man, with when we're posting things online that make pastors so mad because they feel like we're attacking the systems to protect their bottom line, or they feel like we're attacking their livelihood, it's something I continually go back to even with pastors of saying, "Hey, let's start again. Where's the fruit of the spirit in this?" And I've had to apologize. I miss it a lot because I get hot under the collar and I get snarky. Sarcasm is not a fruit of the spirit. Sometimes I think it is, so I have to go back and apologize for that. But um, it's crazy how many people who call themselves Christians, how many of us who call ourselves pastors are quick to anger, quick to frustration, quick to judgment, quick to assumption. And if we do those things, it doesn't matter what we say about Jesus if we're doing those things, because what we're telling people about Jesus is that to follow Jesus or to follow Jesus in what we believe in the right way is angry and frustrated and rigid. So again, I'm at a place in my life where I want less labels, and I would encourage all of us to have less labels. What are the labels that matter? And for me,
Mhm.
that's a Christian, that's a dad, that's a husband, that's a friend. Outside of those labels, the other things are just descriptors. They're not labels. But if we could have less labels, but live out the labels that matter, I think we change the world. I really do. But we've got to know what labels are going to stick no matter what anybody else says and whether people like them or not. And we've got to live them out consistently. So for me, again, it's those few labels and then it's living out the fruit of the spirit. It's trying to be someone who, even when I'm rattling the cage and making you uncomfortable, is there peace there? Is there kindness there? Is there
Mhm.
love and gentleness and self control? So, um, anyway, I don't know who that's for. That's for somebody who's listening. I don't know who it's for, but feel free to let some of the labels go. What are the labels that matter most? Those are the only ones that matter. And Caleb, I know we've not had that exact conversation, but we've had a lot of these types of conversations
Yeah.
over the years. And I think you have less labels now that you've returned to being a person of faith than you had when you were a person who had completely left the faith, because those labels, they were almost like weights that weigh us down.
And they're so arbitrary too. Like, because once you slap the label on it, you're opening up, especially if you operate from a binary perspective of good versus bad. How do you be good at that thing? Well, you're going to go compare good to what you believe is societally good. What's that standard? Oh, who are you around right now? What like you start to get real ambiguous. And
Yeah.
much to what you're saying, the less you have to grapple with, the more clear you're going to be, because when you the more the things I've noticed with people, they chase more labels, they chase more group identity, slap a new one on there so I can feel like I belong into one more thing. Well, all I see every time I see, and I saw especially like the medical field, I have all these different letters and certifications before and after my name, and we can take that into other contexts as well if we really wanted to, with the modern day. But every single time, those are the people that they're the last. Like, you try to have a human conversation with them, ooh, dark. They're lonely. They might have all this knowledge, but they don't know how to apply it. They can't speak to the person there in front of them. And the problem with it is, like, what if one label starts to conflict with the other? Now you start to have internally these conflicting ideologies. Boom, you become at war with
Mm.
yourself. Much like I was saying about the bread thing before. Well, I happen to like bread, and I happen to go visit my family in France every now and then. I like to have croissants, and I didn't die. That breaks my belief that this whole thing is bad.
Yeah,
As
but my
opposed to, like,
label was paleo. And
my
with the
label
label
was
of
that.
paleo, I can't have the bread, or now I'm a bad person.
Exactly. And that's the fundamental problem we're talking about.